Welcome to our 2015 State of the School Address. This is the fourth year I've given such an address, but the first year we've elected to do this electronically. It is my hope that the convenience of digital video will allow more members of our community to view this address, and with increased viewership will come a greater awareness of our strengths and of the areas we need to improve. On the strength side, we're currently at the largest enrollment figure since my arrival 4 years ago. And correspondingly, we saw our first balanced operating budget in more than 14 years. For the second year in a row, we saw our student retention rates at or above the national average for independent schools. Last spring, we saw a record number of applicants accepted to the University of Virginia, and our SAT scores continued to be more than 200 points above the national average. Our faculty received a much appreciated 4% salary increase, and faculty retention was once again higher than the independent school average. There is no doubt that our schools made exceptional progress over the past 4 years. I'm justifiably proud of the successes we regularly achieve, and I realize it would not have been accomplished without the efforts of a talented faculty and staff. New ideas remain just that until our teachers and administrators take them and turn them into reality. I'm also very impressed with the increase in parent volunteerism on our campus. From the active committees that produce our gala and our photo coffee house, to the parent volunteers for Big Flea and Homecoming, I see parents more actively engaged in making North Cross their school. We are indebted to our Parents Association for their support and fundraising efforts for items that fall outside our normal school budget. The continued hard work and active creative participation by our parent volunteers help to ensure our future success. We're not without challenges, however. When I arrived 4 years ago, my goal was to change the image of North Cross School from a public school alternative to that of an independent school on par with the best independent schools in Virginia. And we have certainly closed the gap. Our recent inclusion in a small E.E. Ford Foundation-sponsored conference with schools such as Collegiate, Norfolk Academy, and St. Anne's Belfield provided me reassurance that we are developing a statewide reputation as an independent school. I could not help but mention to the new headmaster at Woodbury Forest that we had more students accepted at the University of Virginia last year. But the reality is that we face financial and demographic limitations in the Roanoke Valley that make it more difficult for us to compete with the best schools in Virginia. Simply put, these other schools have a tuition structure that tops out close to $30,000 for upper school and a much larger applicant pool from which to draw students. But notice I said our limitations make it more difficult for us, not impossible. I'm sure you've heard the saying, nothing worth doing comes easy. So where do we need to focus our attention? The most obvious area is enrollment, and more specifically, enrollment in the lower school. While at a 4-year high in enrollment, and our middle and upper schools are close to capacity, our lower school remains about 30 students below capacity. This may sound like a lot, but the tuition from just 2 students more per classroom would allow us to take the next steps toward matching the programs of our better funded competitors. This softness in lower school enrollment is not unique to North Cross. Rather, it is a trend seen in many independent schools nationwide. Some of this is demographically related, as many young parents put off having babies during the Great Recession, so there are fewer first graders and kindergartners going to school today. But it is also evident that young parents have difficulty distinguishing the difference between a lower school education in an independent school and the corresponding education in a local elementary school. It looks the same from the outside, but is it really the same on the inside? And do our parents realize the significant differences? For years, we have been anecdotally aware that new students arriving at our middle school from local public schools are not as well prepared for the work demands placed upon them, nor do they seem to write as well. Certainly, and with the help of our faculty, they adjust and succeed, some with more ease than others, but do they achieve as well as they would have had they begun their education at North Cross in our lower school? In an effort to develop more objective evidence, we broke down our SAT scores for our most recent graduates to compare those graduates that attended North Cross in lower school with those that entered North Cross after lower school. Remember that as a group, our most recent graduates scored more than 250 points higher than the national average, so they all did well. But we found that students that attended North Cross from lower school scored 150 points higher than those students arriving at North Cross later. Even more interesting was that the lower school group scored 80 points higher on the writing portion of the SAT, a section that correlates more highly with success in the liberal arts than any other academic factor other than AP scores in English. In fact, we regularly look at measurable student successes and compare the performance of our lifelong students against those that arrive later. Consistently, those students attending North Cross in the lower school were more likely to get perfect scores on subtests of the SAT, have more scores above 1,300 on the SAT, or being an AP scholar. I believe the achievements of our academic program begins with a culture of success fostered in our lower school. While we're quick to trumpet our college admissions success, our successes on the playing field, and global studies, the fact remains that many of the most important changes we've made over the past 4 years have been made at the lower school level. This is by design, as we recognize that by differentiating our lower school, by providing an education unrestrained by the limitation of basic minimum standards, we can provide for our students the firm grounding needed for success at higher levels. It was 3 years ago when we announced that we would offer Spanish 5 days a week to all students in the lower school. This is old news for many of you, but every year we see the benefits of this commitment. What you do not realize is that every year we must create new curriculum for students in each grade to meet them at higher levels of study. Our goal is full proficiency in a foreign language by graduation. This past year, 93% of our 7th grade students received commendation for their score on the National Spanish Examination. In 1 year, we've doubled the number of lower school students attending a Spanish immersion program at Concordia University in Minnesota. This summer, we will kick off our homestay program in Corrientes, Argentina. Programs that begin with an idea have been turned into action by dynamic faculty and staff. This past fall, we implemented Singapore Math, a well-established but relatively uncommon math curriculum for lower school students in the Roanoke Valley. After visiting Singapore math programs at St. Anne's Belfield in Charlottesville and St. Christopher's in Richmond, we were convinced that this program provides an awareness and intuitive understanding of mathematics not found in other curricula. Singapore Math is not new math, a touchy-feely, low-stress curriculum designed to make kids feel good about their math abilities. Rather, Singapore Math is a novel way of breaking numbers down into manageable components to complete arithmetic problems. Children intuitively learn why they are manipulating numbers to achieve specific outcomes, and thus they are better at important problem-solving skills, such as estimating to determine whether an answer makes sense. At a recent Christmas party, I spoke with a grandparent of one of our current 4th graders, and he enjoyed telling me how his grandson had quickly replied with an answer to a real-world problem that required 3-digit multiplication, and doing so while the grandfather was still searching for a pencil to write out the problem. We will continue to build on our successful word study literacy program by creating a list of 100 books that all lower school students will read before they complete 5th grade. This list will become a feature of our lower school beginning this summer with our summer reading. The single greatest educational variable affecting verbal SAT scores is the degree with which a student reads. College success begins in the lower school at North Cross. I will spare you the details of our small classroom sizes in lower school, except to say that our students consistently write better than their public school peers because writing is taught as a process by teachers that can spend more time with individual students. There's no need to discuss our achievement test scores in lower school except to say that our average student at North Cross scores in the 80th percentile nationally, a fact that allows our teachers to push our children at a level consistent with their elevated ability. And you should already know that as public school systems focus on high-stakes testing to the exclusion of that which is not tested, we remain committed to physical activity and a broad approach to the arts. To further assist our lower school teachers, we've created Crosswalk, an Orton Gillingham-based approach to helping students with verbal learning difficulties. Crosswalk is designed to help high-ability students learn the academic skills they need to successfully negotiate a traditional classroom. Using multisensory instructional techniques in classrooms with no more than 4 students, our faculty helps students develop academically, socially, and emotionally. Crosswalk, as part of our Developing Learning Center, also serves as a clearinghouse for tutorial services. As active as our students are, being able to receive needed tutorial assistance while at school or on our campus should simplify the educational experience. Over the past 4 years, I believe we've done the hard work to make our lower school a special place for children. It is an essential part of the success we achieve in the middle and upper school, and as such, we are better off as an institution enrolling students at an earlier age. I remain convinced that North Cross is the best independent school value in the state, value being critical when we compete against schools with seemingly inexhaustible resources. But even with our efficiency, small class sizes, comprehensive programs in the arts and athletics, and a talented faculty comes a cost. This next year we will increase our tuition by 4% and keep our fees unchanged, continuing our 5-year trend of declining increases in tuition. With this increase comes a small salary increase for employees and a meaningful increase in health care benefits to match our rapidly escalating costs. I know there may be some of you out there that do not want to pay a tuition increase, so I offer you this possibility. This year we will draw one name from the pool of re-enrollees, and this student will not have to pay the tuition increase for this year. The catch is you must re-enroll by February 10th. Late re-enrollers will miss their chance. More seriously, the sooner we can put our re-enrollment to bed, the sooner our admissions staff can turn their attention to new families. Your timely re-enrollment simplifies our lives immeasurably. Any tuition increase can create a difficulty for some parents, but I truly believe that the investment in a North Cross education is well worth the expense. There has never been a better time to be at North Cross. Should you have any questions about your re-enrollment, please do not hesitate to call or email Amy Jackson in admissions. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow at Education 2025.